Thanks for showing up. The grants training that we all have. We know grants are kind of an important part of a lot of things that we do in Rotary here at the local level. I know member of the Brookings Club, and we almost every year have some sort of project that we want to do, and then all of us look around and say, how do we do this grant thing? And so we offer this training, and the benefit of being here in the live training is that you can ask questions. We have a chat set up, so if you've got questions as we go along, feel free to go ahead and put everything in the chat, and then we'll kind of get back to it as we can. I've got the chat open on my end, so I should be able to see anything that pops up. But then feel free to go as we go along. Before we move on to the next subject, let's make sure that we get everything taken care of. So my name is Brad Blaha. I guess I should have started with that. But this is finishing out my first year as a district grant sub chair. So I work closely with John Schneider, who's on the call, as well as the foundation chair. And then next year, Bert Olson will be taking over for John in that foundation chair role. And so as we go, let me see if I can get my screen to work here. So I think we've got Linda as people have been checking in, trying to check off where everybody is from. And we will have a quiz at the end. Don't worry, the quiz is not hard, but more of a knowledge check, and also a way to make sure that we connect that you have went through training. And so as we're looking at grants for next year, we have a reference point of who was at training, whether they were live or did the video later on. So our agenda for today is just a little bit of information about grants. For those of you that have been around a long time, that this information probably hasn't changed much, but it's great to have a good refresher on that. Instruction, just kind of what RI requires for us as far as qualifications. Most importantly, the timelines and what reports, both applications and kind of final reports or status updates on previous grants, and when those are all due. And then we'll actually go and walk through, we'll create a fake application. So you'll all be able to see exactly what you'll see as you submit a new grant for the next Rotary year. So if we get that all done, I'll be pretty satisfied with where we're at the end, and hopefully you will be as well. All right, so as we go in, just to kind of take a step back from the 30,000-foot view on where this money comes from, and so this is it's kind of the breakdown of if we give $100 to the foundation, it sits at the foundation at the home office in Chicago for 3 years, and then 95% of that is let back. So they keep 5% as an administrative cost. And then that remaining 95% is split between the World Fund and comes back to us at the district. Of that 47.5%, half of that can be used for Rotary grants. And so it's a little bit confusing, but I think the chart does a pretty good job of getting that we get, basically half of the half of all the money that's donated in a given year from our district. So those raffle tickets that are being collected right now and sold, those directly impact what we do and are able to do 3 years from now at the district level. So for next year, we'll have, I filled in the information that we had from previous years. So next year, we'll have approximately $40,625 available to be given out as grants. Last year, John, do you remember? I think it was 60,000 or right around there. Is that what your memory has too?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a pretty large.
It was a bump up. This is more closer to normal,
Right.
I think, based on what I could see. But so it's a process that works well, and this year should be a good year for grants. All right, and so these Rotary Foundation we work as kind of an intermediary between the clubs and the home office for Rotary International. And so these are our grant guidelines that we go through. And you can read through the bullet points, but I think they make a lot of sense as you're thinking about us as Rotarians, and using the four-way test and all those types of things. But anything that we fund with a Rotary grant really needs to fulfill the mission of Rotary. And so we'll go through that a little bit later. We want active participation by Rotarians in this project. And so the idea is not just to have a check passing or a money passing. It's to have some sort of active participation. We want to adhere to all laws. That makes a lot of sense. And then maybe most importantly, and that's why it's highlighted, is that it needs to be for a new project that hasn't happened yet. And so we're looking forward, and we're trying to think of something new or something that's in the heavy planning stages to help complete. We want to be recognized as a Rotary project in some way, shape, or form, and not to exceed $1,000 to get that identifying signs. And kind of that last bullet point tells you what it can't be used for specifically. So we can't buy land or buildings or those types of things. We can't have unrestricted cash donated to a larger project, or really cover administrative costs or expenses. And so that's all coming from Rotary International, and not just from our district. Again, I say we think about the four-way test in all things that we do, right? So as you're thinking about these projects and the administration of these projects, kind of using the four-way test as a good guide for how we're doing business. We'd like the project to be sustainable, and so something that can continue on or carry on with more than just kind of a short shelf life without district funds to be infused every year. So this should be a passion of your club or an interest of your club, and something that you can get behind, that to support the community in your surrounding community. Like I said earlier, we don't really want just a check to be passed and to go into a general fund, but your money can be used to buy a piece of equipment for a project. And I think that's almost all of what we see as we're looking through grants, is maybe there's a bigger project going on. Rotary is going to take a piece of that. I know a few years ago in Brookings, we bought things for the Boys and Girls Club. We bought, I think, gym mats or something like that they could be used as a part of a bigger project. The important thing is the project can't start until you get the check from the district, or your part of the project can't start until you get the check from the district. And so last year's timeline was about mid-September is when Steve Sikorsky sent out checks that we've received the money from Rotary. And then within a couple of days, we had checks out to clubs. We expect a 50-50 match. So if you're working on a $2,500 project, for example, the expenses are going to be $2,500 in total, and maybe it's $1,250 from your club matched with $1,250 from the district, and totaling $2,500. But you can also bring in other partners as well. And so if you have a very expensive project, I'm not sure if there's anybody from Canby on here, but I think Canby and I have been talking about doing some sort of it's a medical like a portable medical device for the community, and it was going to be like $15,000. Well, looking at that, if you could get a hospital or some other entity to match up, or the city to match up, you can start making your money go further by getting several matches to the money. And then the district has a $10,000 cap on the limit that we will fund. Any questions on that? I haven't seen any questions come through the chats yet, but those are kind of the big rules that we have to follow, for lack of better for lack of better terms. Those are the guidelines that we're working in, or the guard rules that we're working in, both at the district and the international level. So our own timeline at a district level, we're having training today. So good work, you're here. So you'll be at least have the knowledge base for grants going forward. The July 31st is the hard deadline for grant application submission. And so anything that comes in after July 31st would not be considered unless we have grant money available. But in the past several years, there has been no grant money available. So if you're not in by July 31st, you're probably out of luck for this Rotary year. The committee that will meet to make the decisions on the grants will meet right around after they close, but within the first couple weeks of August. We set a time to get together to review, so there isn't much time wasted after that application deadline. Once we approve it, we have to send it to Rotary International to be approved. So they have to look at what we've done and what we've submitted. They have to approve it and give their blessing, and then they send the check out to our district treasurer. And the district treasurer will then take it and disperse the money out to the club's treasurer, whoever you put down as the kind of point person for the checks. And then once that check is received, then you can go ahead and do your work. And so it can be literally a one-day project. So if you're installing a bench, if you're doing a piece of playground equipment, whatever that looks like, that's a very short, potentially a short time frame, or it can be spread out over 2 years. And so so that's kind of the timeline that we work in. Sometimes it's very quick, easy. You can fill out the report, the final draft of the report, within weeks of getting the money. Other times it's a little bit longer process depending on what you're working on. Okay, and we'll go through all of this as far as the grants or the forms and all that you'd fill out here in a few minutes.
So Brad, I know now you've asked for reports for last year's grants. We would really like to have them give us a report before the end of year one, whether they're done or not.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. So last week I sent out an email to the people from last cycle saying, hey, if you finish your project, here's a link to the report to just fill out. And I think we've had two clubs fill it out, or just send me an email with the status update. And so there was a club, maybe Mapleton, I think, that had a shed that they were working on, and the contractor just hasn't done the shed yet. They're in contact, so it's in progress. It's not a big deal. Just kind of keep us updated with what's going on. And then ultimately we have to report back to RI about the status of the grants. So yeah, good point, John. All right. So every year, these are the requirements that we have to be kind of in good standing with a grant. So there is a MOU available, and I've got it linked a couple different places in the application, and that basically you would sign as a club president, and then whoever the number 2 person is on that for your club. So you'll have at least 2 people that are representatives of the grant committee. The separate bank account, so you keep your grant money segregated from the rest of your money for your club dues or whatever you collect money for. You're here, so you'll have somebody that has attended training and again pass that very easy quiz that I have to make sure you're paying attention. A 990 form, that's probably the hardest part for people that are filling out the grants, is the IRS 990 form. So if you have no idea what that is, talk to your club treasurer, or if you have a club accountant or whoever takes care of filing all of your forms. And we just want the most recent version of that. we want you to be current on past grants. So if you got one last year or 2 years ago, we just want to make sure those have all been finalized. And we have status reports. And you have to be in good standing with the district as well when it comes to grants or dues or any of those other things that we require from you to be in good standing within our area. John, I don't know. I don't have access to the club central goals, but I know last year you were able to go in and check to make sure that clubs had entered goals. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, we started this as a requirement a couple of years ago to encourage clubs to submit their goals. And as I said in my club visits, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. So it's important to have goals and to know where you want to lead your club. Yes, so my Rotary, I hope you're all familiar with that, or someone in your club is, such as your president or a president-elect. And it's fairly simple process once you get in there. And our requirement is that it has to be your foundation goals, your foundation giving. I'm not sure what else there is, but I guess we're not going to worry about membership and other things. But we want to see your foundation goals in there on my Rotary. I know the district governor can look at it. I could look at it. Of course, you can look at your own club. Your assistant governor probably can look at it. So there are several people that could help you with that.
Jen, I saw your message in there. Are the 7 items listed? The to-do items listed. The things listed on the application, like I said, we'll see that here in a few minutes as we hop into the application. Is the 990 form and the MOU. Those are the ones specifically listed out there. But I could sure list the other things out there. Yep. And none of these will sneak up on you. We usually have reminders sent out and everything. We're not trying to trick you. We're just trying to make sure that we keep the folks at RI happy and keep our 100% charity rating, right? All right, so let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if for those of you that are on computers and following along, I'm going to drop the link into the chat here for the grant application, and that should get us there. But really, what this grant application is here, it probably goes without saying, right? It's kind of the logical function and really step by step of how to get through the grant application. And what I'll do is I'm going to open it up on my end, and we'll just walk through the application together for a fictional project, and hopefully we hit all of these things as we go along. If that sounds agreeable. The grant applications, if you click in, you can follow along, you can upload, you can put in fake things for your club. I will go and just delete everything out after this meeting, so you can't wreck it. And you can't submit anything that isn't is completely fake. So you're not going to actually put together anything that'll hurt anybody. So let me see if I can get in here. Okay, so this should be right here. So this is the grant application. So if you click into that link in the chat, this should be, and can you see that still, Linda or John? My green thing went away. You can still see the grant application, okay?
Yeah, we can see it. It'd be nice if it was enlarged, but
Yeah, let me see if I can.
but yeah, good.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, and you'll notice it's a little bit intimidating because you can see it says 10 pages. And you're like, man, 10 pages. Most of that is just kind of single information. I split it out as much as possible because it makes it easier for us to collect contact information. So if you go ahead, if you've got this up and you're clicking in, you can put in your own email. So I'm just going to put in my email and this will be the email that gets the confirmation in the future. Okay. And so whatever one you put in there will work. Okay. So you can say, as we go down here, you will say lead Rotary Club. So I'm a member of the Brookings Club. So I'm just going to say Brookings Rotary. It's pretty straightforward. Are there any clubs helping you? So are you partnering with Madison? Are you partnering with Rushmore? Are you partnering with Winter? Really, what are we looking at? So this project we're just going to do ourselves. So we're just going to say not applicable, and we'll do a project. Does anyone have an idea for a project? I hadn't really thought of one. You want to do a park bench at a school? How's that sound? And so this is just a short title. Let's see. Hillcrest is a renovated school here. Crest School here in Brookings. So this is a brief project summary. So this is just kind of a short thing of what's going to happen or what do we want to have happen. This is a lot of times easy for our committee to kind of get a quick snapshot within a couple sentences of what you want to do. So install park bench near the new school playground equipment.
And when we fill out the application to RI with everyone's requests, I think this is limited to only 140 characters.
Yep.
So
Yep, that sounds right.
Don't get very windy on this part of it.
Yes, yeah, you have room to get windy down below.
Yeah.
That's always good advice, though. Don't get windy, right? Okay, so then we're looking at the requesting amount. And so I don't know what a park bench costs, but let's just say, I think I mentioned $2,500 earlier. So we're just going to put in 2,500. Now, the next question that we ask is the minimal acceptable amount. And the reason we ask that is that, hey, maybe our grant is to put in 5 park benches. And so we're going to request or 4 park benches. That would be $10,000 if they all cost $2,500. But in reality, we could get by with just 1 park bench or one piece of that little bit. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get funded at the lower level, but it means that if we're looking at kind of the entirety of everybody that's applied, if we can do some good in some different communities, I think that's part of what we're thinking of as we're looking at. But since in this example, we're just doing 1 park bench, it's going to be $2,500. Okay, so the cost of 1 bench. Then we ask, what areas is this going to impact? And so you can pick any or all of these. And so maybe it's because it's at a school, we'll check basic education, and then maybe child health, because maybe the kids are coming to the playground and working out. And so that's good for child health. So we go in, we click next. So this is your chance to get long-winded and give us a lot of information about what is happening. So maybe you're partnering with somebody else to explain that partnership. And so this is kind of where we want a little bit longer description in here instead of that short, 140 character description. And I won't go into that because we've got some time or we don't want to be here forever. So I'm just going to put in park bench information project. Okay, then we'll estimate the start date. And so if I say, let's see, school starts August 15th, 2024. So that's a great start date, right? Let's see some reactions is that a good start date?
No.
John, why is that not a good start date?
Because you're not supposed to start the project until you get the check from our district.
Yes. Okay. So that's the correct answer, John. So even though school starts and we want to have this in, we need to wait till after that gets done. So maybe it's and this is an estimated start date, right? But maybe it's October 15th, or maybe it's March 15th of next year, right? So that doesn't really matter too much. And then again, we'll just say it's going to take a week to install that. bench. And that's really all we need to do. Okay, so we're going to hit next. So this would be any non-financial contributions. So this is maybe Rotarians will assist with placement of the bench. Okay, so this is kind of non-financial volunteer work that may go along with it. Okay, we're halfway home. Public awareness. So how is the public going to know this is a Rotary project? So if we've got a bench that we're installing, maybe we will have the Rotary cog will be engraved on the bench. That'd be a cool Rotary bench, right? So everyone would know where it comes from and they would know that's a Rotary project. Or maybe you're taking pictures or doing press releases. Those types of things can also be good. Okay, so project contacts. So these are the people that we as the district will contact and help or ask for help if we need any clarification. And we'll also be responsible for submitting everything. So we will say Jennifer Olson. And I don't know Jen's email, but I'm just going to say Jen O at ilovebenches.com. Okay. And then a phone number. Okay. Then number 2, we'll just put in Michael Gonda as our past president. Okay. Okay. And then this would be the person to receive the grant. So this is like most likely your club treasurer. And so that makes it easier for us to really get the check out to the right person. So I've always wanted our treasurer to be count the money, right? Okay. And then his address or her address. Okay. And make sure you put in all the complete address because this is what we'll use to send out. Okay. And then an email address. All right. That helps us get in contact with the right people. And hopefully I got everything in there correctly. And then if you're working with other cooperating organizations, so the city, the county, anybody at all, this is where you would put their information in, working with City of Brookings or United Way, any of those types of things. If nobody is helping you and it's just strictly a Rotary project, you can just put in NA, and that way we know it's just a Rotary project. Maybe. Perfect. So grant fund requested, I think we had said $2,500 earlier. Or project cost was going to be $2,500. So it would be a $1,250 grant from the district because we're matching money. $1,250 from your club. And then this is where you would put any other income. So if you have a third party or a partnering organization, you would put in their money here. So in this case, we're going to put 0 with a total project income of $2,500. So that plus that. So we're going to put in expenses. And so maybe the bench itself costs $2,000. So bench, $2,000. Concrete base, $500. Just throwing rough, just fake numbers out there, right? But that equals $2,500. So you've got lots of places you can put in, and just want to make sure that those two numbers match. The income matches the expenses. We're gonna hit next. Maybe. Okay, so this is where you're gonna put in the lead person and the secondary person as a signature. So we had Jen and Michael. And then here's where you'll upload your 990 form and your MOU. And so those things are both needed before you can do your application. And so if we just add a file here, let's see, let me just go in and find some random files to drag in there. Okay, so that's in there. And then here's a short link to the MOU if you don't have it already. And it's already up in the top of this as well, but we're going to add the file in here. And we will drag a file over. And then once there's files in those two places, then we can hit submit. And we've just submitted a grant. Just that easy, right? So as we kind of went through that quickly, but Linda will be sending out. You'll get a confirmation right here that the grant has been submitted, and you should also get an email to that email address that you put at the very beginning with a confirmation as well. Assuming I have that turned on. I think I do, because I got one earlier today. Any questions at all as we kind of went through that process step by step? Looks like no questions. All right, perfect.
Actually, Brad, I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Just before the end of that, you typed in the names of the two people. Are those supposed to be signatures, or do we just type their name in?
Yeah, just type your name in. Yep, and we're using those as signatures in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
But you'll have a physical signature on the MOU that or a DocuSign, whatever you're using to sign.
I thought there was someplace they had to have an actual signature. So
Yep,
okay.
and that would be the MOU.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking the good question. All right, so let me flip over here quick to the final grant report. So you've applied for a grant, you've got it submitted, you've been approved, you've got the money, and all of a sudden you're done with your project. We put that bench in, and really what we're looking for here, and this is the admin side of it, but it's basically the same thing, the exact same thing that you'll see. We'll go through and ask a lot of the same questions. As far as who's filling out the report, what the project was, so we can match it back to the original project, what was accomplished, what areas were you covering, how many Rotarians actually helped, how many hours did they put into the project, how many people helped with the project kind of overall. And so we're just trying to quantify numbers and volunteer hours and things like that. And so that's, like I said, it's a pretty easy final report, but just trying to help us gather as much information for RI as possible. And then your financial report, this should be your kind of wrapping up and kind of going back to what we did when the application of, we thought it was going to cost $2,000 for the bench and $500 for the cement, I think was the number we had put in. This would be the place where we actually submit those receipts and and provide justification for all of the funds that were both taken in and spent. And so there's again another place where we can add files for expenditures and income up above. And again, this keeps us in good graces with RI. Okay, you guys feeling pretty good about grants?
Hey, Brad, John here. I am
Yep.
on the district website trying to find the things we talked about.
Yep, they are not there yet.
Okay.
So yeah, they are not there. I was messing around with formatting and kind of everything up right up until yesterday and today. So
Okay.
I didn't want to put anything out there yet. So, but they will be out there as soon as I can send Pam the links here of all the different things.
Okay. So I assume at the top of our website, we would go to the link foundation,
Yep.
drops down to district grants, and
Yep.
then those things would all be
Yep.
there.
Yep, uploaded and linked there. This is kind of a written, I know some people are verbal people, but and some people are like written instructions. This is basically what we went through in a written form of a step-by-step process for that application. So we're not going to spend in a lot of time. One thing, Don, this is a lot of Don Norton's presentation from last year, but I would suggest doing all of this and he would too, in a Word document, and then just copying and pasting, especially for the longer descriptions. It's a little bit easier to see than on those short little blurbs for in the form. Okay. All right.
Hey, Brad, this is Steve.
Yes, Steve.
Hey, another advantage of using Word is they'll check your grammar and your spelling really well. And if you're cut off line, you won't lose all your stuff. So
Yes.
we have a similar system at work. So
yep. Yeah, no, that's a great point. So you know, I don't think you need a page of the long description. You know, we were kind of joking about that a little bit about being windy, but I think just giving a good, you know, a paragraph of what you're going to do, that's generally more than sufficient for what we need. As long as it explains it well. One additional thing I guess I didn't mention is we were looking at forms and uploading those MOUs and the 990s. If you could do me a favor, do me a solid, and put your club name and what it is before you upload it, that would make my life a lot easier. So I'm trying to track things down, and people ask me what they've turned in or any of those types of things. That would help a lot on my end, just for data tracking standpoint. All right. So these are just kind of final thoughts on our end. So our district grants are the team that decides those will be Bruce Nearhood as district governor, and then Bert Olson and myself will be taking a look at those projects. And our goal, we want to fund a lot of really fun projects, and it was a lot of fun to read through all of the projects last year. But just remember the kind of the things that we need to have entered to keep you in good standing for clubs, and we'll remind you as much as we can about dates and times and what we're missing if we are missing anything from you. But we'll go through, we'll total all the requests. Last year it was very close to having exactly how much money we needed or how much money was requested for the money that we had available. So that made our jobs a little bit easier, but we'll total all the requests. We'll look and say, hey, here, you know, what can we get the most bang for the buck, or what can we make a great impact on a community? But that's not necessarily the final decision, but that's definitely a consideration that we do have. And of course, we also look at good ROI as far as, do you have good partners? Can we make a $5,000 contribution stretch into a $27,000 project, as the example on here? I think back to like the Rotary Club, we did the food grant last fall. I don't know if that'll happen again this year. It'll be up to Bruce, and but we had that the Brookings Club got match upon match upon match and turned in a couple $100 and do, I think, over $1,000 of impact. So I think that's kind of a fun thing to think about. And then just keeping track of deadlines and dates and getting everything turned in on our end is not only helpful but required. So I think John, these are the My Rotary goals. So if you haven't been on Rotary and logged into My Rotary, I think it looks like, Goal Center is located there. So if you haven't been on My Rotary, it's a cool website with a lot of maybe more information than you need sometimes. Okay, so the easiest way to get a hold of me is through the email. Sometimes my kids are on my phone and they swipe and disregard the emails come in. So feel free to email me at the Rotary Grants email. That's what I will check, or I generally check a little bit more often during grant season. But send that or give me a call. Is probably the other way to get a hold of me. And sometimes I've got 3 kids, so sometimes just get me on the horn is an easier way to do it. So, okay, so I'm gonna put in into the chat right now. Oh wait, Shock, I see you got a message in here. Can we have partners join with funds after the grant is approved? I would think so. I would think that would be acceptable. John, would you have any issue with that? As
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think just from our end on the front side, that would be kind of what. So maybe the park bench, if we go back to the example, costs $5,000 to install, and you get some money along the way, or you want to ramp up the project a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's okay. Great question. All right, let me get back in here. So this is a very difficult quiz. But if you passed, I'm going to drop it in here. I did have my colleague who knows nothing about Rotary or Rotary grants take it, and she got 1 out of 10. So I have faith in all of you. Like I said, I made this not to be tricky or anything. So, but my goal is to have you get 100% on that quiz. And so if you click into the link, it'll ask you to put your name in, your club, and then there's a quick multiple choice, multiple guess that I would guess that all of you will do well. There's maybe one tricky question in there. So my goal is to have you have 100%, just so you're in good. Oh, cool, Janice. We will send this out. I see your message in there. We will send this out we'll send this out in an email as well. So don't feel like you have to do it today. Cool. Any other questions? I think that's all I got. I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes if you have anything individually you want to chat with. I know sometimes being in a group of 20 or 24, folks, it can be intimidating to ask a question. But I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes. Otherwise, I think, John, is there anything else that you wanted to chat with or mention?
No, I don't think so. I'm almost done with the quiz.
I'm interested to see if you pass. But
so Brad Roger Heacock, thank you for the really good presentation. Well laid out and easy to follow. So thank you much.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Roger.
I also thank you.
Yeah. So if you need anything, my goal is not to make this tough or intimidating or scary. It's an easy process, right? And we want to give you money as much as we can. So with that, thanks for coming. Like I said, hang around here if you've got an individual question. Otherwise, feel free to take off. And we look forward to seeing your grants here in the next couple months.
10 out of 10.
You passed. Good work.
Yeah, great job, Brad.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
at this time, I'm going to stop the
Got all
video.
10 of them right. So,
Good
you know,
job,
the third or
Vivian.
fourth time's the charm. You know, I've been doing this, I don't know how many years. You'd think I'd know the answers.